welcome to Question Time at Surgeon Cast. My name is Shanaz and I'll be your chairperson for today. On our panel, on our Labour side, we have Awil, who's a Labour MP, Imtiyaz, who's a Labour journalist, and Samia, who's a youth worker. And on our Conservative side, we have Tahraoui, who's a Conservative MP, Shamith, who's a Conservative journalist, and Nahida, who's an accountant, and Safwan, who's a businessman. Our topics for today are Brexit, junk food, sexism, and climate change. These are all topics that are currently affecting the great British public. We will now begin with the topic of Brexit. Brexit is a major topic in our society today that is affecting all of us here right now and will continue to affect us in years to come. Tahraoui, as a Conservative MP, what are your views on Brexit?
So, as a Conservative MP, I believe that Brexit should be done as quickly as possible because we have a deal. The deal is an excellent deal. So let's get it done as soon as possible because the great British public have agreed to leave the European Union. So I think that's the priority right now.
Shamith, do you agree with this?
As a as a Conservative journalist, I believe the UK has immense influence around the world. We have a great economic and cultural influence, and the fact that we almost lead the world and we're unable to listen to what the public has said and we can't act on their decisions is insane, and we need to just get on with Brexit and make it happen.
Okay. As a leader in your party, what are your views on Brexit?
Brexit has been dragged on for over 3 years under the Conservative government. The great British public has been lied to and misled more times than we can count. The Tories are clearly not able to deliver Brexit, which is why we say if Jeremy Corbyn is elected as Prime Minister, he'll negotiate a new deal and hold a second referendum and let the public have an informed people's vote.
Imtiyaz, do you agree with this?
I believe we should remain in the EU because if you look at it now, if we leave the EU, there'll be a line on immigration, and look at that, all the top doctors, neurosurgeons, most of the surgeons and stuff, they're immigrants and they're literally saving our lives. So if we do leave the EU, like the youngsters, the youth, they have no one to look up to, especially now how society is, that the youngsters, knife crime, gang violence, it's very hard to become successful. And these youths will find it difficult to become successful because there's no one to look up to.
Okay, Nahida and Safwan, as you are both people who work within the economy, how do you feel Brexit will affect your daily work?
Brexit is very important for me because I trade with Europe. By delaying Brexit is causing me difficulties when it comes to trading. We need to get Brexit done as soon as possible so I can trade with European countries and make as much profit as possible.
Brexit has dragged on for so long now. I feel like as a Conservative accountant, Brexit should already happen and take place because we don't want these immigrants coming into our country, taking the homes that we have, taking away all of our jobs, and yeah.
Like I said before, we just need to get on with it and make it happen. The public have already voted once for it. We just need to get on with it and just get out of the European Union.
Samia, as you work with young people on a daily basis, how do you feel that Brexit will affect them?
I believe that the young people's say matters. They should be able to vote in this referendum because it will affect their future. For example, the Scottish referendum, the 16-year-olds were allowed to vote, and there was a higher vote turnout for their Scottish independence.
As we are all young people here, let's continue on the topic of how Brexit will affect young people and hear some thoughts from people of the panel. Would anyone like to express their views?
Young people already have such a great say in what happens in society. They're allowed to join the army, they're allowed to get married with parents' permission. Who says that they should not be allowed to vote? Brexit will affect them the most, and I believe that they should get a vote and be able to decide on what happens to their future.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah. So I believe that 16-year-olds right now are not mature enough to make a decision for their life in 20 years. This is because they are not aware of the political struggles in Brexit. So because of this, they shouldn't be allowed to vote for the Brexit, or know about how they should challenge the idea of leaving the European Union.
Imtiyaz, do you want to share your views on what Tahir said?
Shanaz, I don't want to do anything.
I just still think that, as we said, we're young, but at the same time, this is going to affect our lives. So just because it's affecting us, I believe we have a say in what's going to happen to us, because whether the youth are going to be the one that's being affected. So we do have a say in this, because we're the one that's going to be facing the consequences.
Okay, we've just had a very varied discussion on the topic of Brexit, which has led to the conclusion that young people will be affected by it and that it's an ongoing issue in society. Let's now move on to the topic of junk food. In recent years, there have been many worries in the increase of junk food shops near schools, which is believed to have led to childhood obesity. Awil, what are your views on this?
Britain has the second highest rate of obesity in the world and the largest in Europe. And the reason that this has occurred is because of the mass consumption of junk food by young people. And studies have shown that more people who are of a working class background are more likely to be obese than people who are of a higher or middle class background. And I just believe that the government should do more in order to help young people with their health. And yeah.
Safwan, as you work within the economy, what are your views on junk food within our society?
The fast food industry plays a pivotal role in our economy. By removing such an industry, it will cause severe problems for our economy. We need to keep this industry going.
Okay. Imtiyaz, do you agree with his view?
I believe it's not about shutting down businesses, rather it's being educated. Right now, we're not really educated on the health effects junk food has. That's why we just buy it because it tastes nice. So I just think that we just need to have knowledge on the damaging effects junk food has to us. So it will like somewhat deter us from eating it. And if you still decide to eat junk food, knowing that the damaging effects to your health, that's a you problem. And it will just make it easier for everyone, because it will prevent businesses from shutting down. Like, it will make business owners happy, but at the same time, you're going to be aware of what you eat.
Samia, as you work with young people on a daily basis, how do you feel that junk food affects them?
I believe that the working class are unable to afford healthy food. As Labour has promised to raise minimum wage for the working class, this will make healthy food more accessible for the working class people.
Shamith, what are your views on junk food?
I agree with Imtiyaz. It's more about education and allowing people to make the right decisions and choices. The fast food industry is something we can't remove. It has a massive effect on our culture and our economy. It's a big part of us. We live busy lives and fast lives. We need the fast food. But the thing is, we need to educate the young people on like the decisions they make on what they eat and make sure that they aren't becoming obese.
Nahida, do you agree with Shamith's views on this?
I feel like everyone has their own decision. Everyone can make their own decisions into doing what they want to do. Eating junk food, it's a decision that anyone can make by themselves. So I don't believe that we need to get rid of all of these shops, because these shops are helping our economy grow. As these shops are placed around schools, this means more students are going in, and this means the business is growing as a whole. As a conservative, it's good that the business is growing, because this means that our economy will just grow overall.
But couldn't you argue that the health of our young people is more important than the economy?
Yes, the health of our young people is very important, but we also need to look at our economy, because if our economy isn't stable, these young people, they won't have a life to live.
Okay. Tahir, what are your thoughts on junk food?
So I believe that junk food should not be taken away or banned, because of the fact that it's a big slice to our economy, and we shouldn't be allowed to tell someone that they are not allowed to eat junk food, because it's their life. They should have the decisions. As you know, if we tell someone, then they might not be able to afford expenses such as healthy food. So maybe what they could do is, rather than banning junk food, they could lower prices on foods like salads, groceries, etc.
Okay. Would anyone else on the panel like to express their views on junk food and the youth?
Over the recent years, 711,000 hospital admissions where obesity was a factor occurred, and the fact that the Tory government, which has been in power for almost 10 years now, has done nothing to solve this issue and has continued to put a strain on the NHS is just appalling, and all these meaningless promises that they're making now is just for no reason, because they've been in power for so long. If they really thought that it was a problem, they would have sorted it out way earlier, not just make promises just before elections to win votes.
Tahir, as a leader of your party, what do you have to say to this?
So I believe that that's nonsense, because a lot of the money that is going into that could be used for other services, such as primary schools or the NHS. How you guys always argue about you were the ones that established the NHS, so instead of prioritizing junk food, why don't you prioritize people's lives that are at stake in like A&E? You guys say that you want to invest 250 million a year in school nurses and counselling services, but what about those other people that have to wait 5 hours to be seen in A&Es? They need a chance as well for life.
Does anyone from the left side of the panel want to respond to Tahir's comments?
The fact still remains that we have not been in power, and all the problems that occur in our society right now is due to the Conservative government. The Labour Party is not able to do anything because they are not in power. That's simply the fact. And the Conservative MP is just talking a lot of rubbish at the moment.
Samia, what are your views on this?
As the Labour Party, we have promised that the NHS waiting list will be seen within 18 weeks. I feel that there has been many lies and promises made from the Conservative Party, and they have failed to show that they are a suitable government for the country.
Shamith, as a journalist, you look into parties and their manifestos, so what do you have to say to this?
From what I can tell is that Labour is just speaking nonsense. The reason why they're not in power is because the great British public do not agree with how they feel. They think everything is done to the party. There's some things, for example, like obesity, it's not necessarily about what party is running it. It's about education and educating the people and the decisions. It's not something that us two parties should be disagreeing with. We should be working together to educate the public on obesity and how to tackle it.
That is a very mature view to have. Does anyone in the audience want to add on to our discussion about junk food? How it affects you in your daily lives, how you feel about it? Anyone? Let's not lead into discussion. If you want to say something, then obviously put your hand up. Okay.
Speak up, man.
How are you going to run up to him, bro? Just dash the mic at him.
Or are you going to kiss John?
Okay, I will.
We have not talked about completely banning junk food. We're talking about making healthy choices more affordable, and this is why the Labour government has promised to increase the minimum wage by £10 an hour to make the working class people able to afford healthier options rather than just buying cheap, unhealthy food.
Okay.
As you can tell, Maha is probably someone that's against Labour because he believes that you guys are going to ban junk food. So you need to make sure you clarify on what you're trying to say, because Some people in this audience, they probably have a desire for junk food every single day. Maybe you don't know how you're going to deal with that.
Excuse me, can I add to that, please?
Sorry.
I believe what you're saying is absolute rubbish. Because if you look at it, yeah, they're just looking at junk food like it's a joke. It really isn't. Look how many deaths eating unhealthy causes. It's not a joke. This stuff is serious. So I please just don't make jokes about it.
Can I respond to that, please?
Sure. Safwan can respond.
The way I'd say, yes, it may be unhealthy, but you'd rather have working class children go to bed with this stuff in the stomach rather than going to bed on an empty stomach.
I'd like to also add to that. What Awil says about increasing wages to £10 an hour, are you running all the businesses in the country that you can make these decisions? For example, I don't think Safwan's able to pay his workers £10 an hour. Are you going to be able to do that?
Nope.
So how are you going to implement this? So you're just talking rubbish again.
The Labour government has planned to increase tax on the people who earn the most, and that will increase revenue for the government, and then through that way they'll be able to implement this minimum wage that's £10 an hour.
Okay.
Going back on Safwan's point on what you were saying, you'd rather have your child have a full stomach, but what if because of that 5 million chips you had, the next morning you're dead?
Okay, that was a very interesting discussion on... Okay, we have one more thing to say.
You talk about junk food being the only option for these people. Like I said, it's a Tesco meal deal which consists of a sandwich, a fruit, probably like a fruit box, and a drink, or a bottle of water or a smoothie. Cost the same as a box of 5 million chips. So I don't know why you're saying that poor people have to eat it. They don't have to. They've got other options. It's just the choices aren't being made.
Sexism is a continuous factor that we have witnessed in our society, and recently it has been witnessed in other forms, for example within the workplace. As a woman in a position of power, what are your views on sexism?
Sexism has no place in our society, and Labour has always reiterated the fact that there's no place for any type of discrimination within the party, whether it be due to sexuality, gender, religion or race. And this is clearly reflected in our MPs, where 52% of all female MPs in government are from the Labour Party. You can't say the same thing about the Conservatives though.
Shamith, what are your views?
You talk about race and how you guys are very accepting. Your leader, Jeremy Corbyn, has been accused of xenophobic comments many times in the past.
Let's remember that the topic is sexism, okay?
But still, she talked about race.
Samia, how does sexism affect your daily life?
Add on to what Shamith said, Boris Johnson has also been Islamophobic towards Muslims, as he did say women wearing niqabs are letterboxes and ninjas.
That's what you absolutely sexism. Can you answer the question?
Okay. I believe that women are being spoken of in terms that are quite inappropriate. For example, the way rappers speak of women, it really just knocks down the confidence of women and makes them feel like men are more superior than them.
Tahir, what are your views on sexism?
I think it's completely outrageous that you believe sexism is something that's a big issue in the Conservative Party. How many prime ministers have you had that are female? And both of the prime ministers that were female have been Conservative MPs. And I don't think you've had many prime ministers elected because no one really likes your party that much.
Okay.
Shall I add on something to that, please?
Sure.
If we look at Margaret Thatcher, who was one of your prime ministers, people mainly focused on the fact that she was a woman. They didn't really care about her being a politician. They didn't look at her work side of things. Because she was a woman, they were more interested in her.
Yeah, sure.
Just adding on to what Samia just said, our most recent female Prime Minister, Theresa May, was constantly ridiculed by her party, was constantly backstabbed by her cabinet members, and the fact that Tahir is boasting about having these 2 female prime ministers while their entire party just hated on them, it just really does not make sense.
Shamith, what are your views on sexism within your party?
You're constantly mentioning parties and how we're doing things wrong. I think sexism isn't a party political issue. It's much wider than that. It's a greater issue. It's around the country, and it's not just within parties. It's something that we should all work together on resolving because it affects everyone in society.
That's a great view to have, especially you coming from a male. Nahida, what are your views on sexism?
I believe sexism is a bad thing overall, as sexism is a very big issue within the society. As a female, females are mainly targeted because females feel like they cannot walk down the street without being pestered by males. It's a really big issue as also in the workplace because females feel like they need to dress in a certain way compared to men, how they have to also look a certain way. And yeah.
Safwan, as you work within a business, have you witnessed sexism?
As a CEO, I pay all my workers the same wage. They're all entitled to the same rewards. So personally, I don't believe sexism is a prevalent matter in our society.
All because it's within your business doesn't mean that it's not present in our society.
Well, I don't see it in society. Like within my life, I don't see sexism as a big matter in society.
Okay. Okay. Imtiyaz, what are your views on sexism?
I personally believe that there are some issues with sexism, but if you compare to society how it was during the Victorian time, like women, they had to be chaperoned, which showed that the tight control women had. So if you compare it to now, you just see how much we've improved. So rather just like saying it is an issue, I feel like we should wait more longer to see the rewards just like before. Like we've really progressed. So I just feel like in the future we'll progress even more.
Okay. As we've heard from everyone on our panel, does anyone from the audience want to contribute to our discussion on sexism?
Going on what Safwan said about the fact that he pays all his workers the same, what about the fact that women are, statistics show that women are less likely to be given CEO positions or whatnot within the company? So how do you feel about that within your own sector?
Safwan, since that was your comment, can you respond please?
I speak for myself and I personally cannot speak on behalf of other CEOs. I personally treat women fairly and give them equal opportunities in my company.
But as I said before, all because it's within your company doesn't mean it's not present in our society, so you can't just neglect that view.
Like I said, I can't represent other people's matters.
Okay, that's fine. Does anyone else want to contribute? Miss?
I'm slightly concerned. So we have people here who are MPs who do represent us as people. We have someone over here who's saying very, very narrow-minded, can only see things from your point of view in your company, so you don't appreciate that sexism really does exist. So for all of your potential constituents here who are female, you're telling them to be silent because you don't feel that sexism is a real issue. And on the other hand, you have someone from this party who is saying that us women need to be silent and wait maybe for another 50 years to see if there are any improvements in society. Just say, as a female, and I would hope my fellow females will support me in this, I'm quite disappointed in the response from both parties.
I believe that you shouldn't vote at all because you do not know all the issues about this law. So I don't think it's right.
Why did you say that? Does anyone else want to respond to Mrs. comment? No? Okay.
Fuck off, don't give the mic to me.
Samia, do you want to respond?
I want to respond to what Safwan was saying. If you only look at things from your perspective and you are part of the Conservative Party who is in government, how do you expect to look at the views of your people if you only look at views for yourself?
Safwan, do you want to respond to this as it was your comment?
like I said, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I have my own opinion, and you may have yours.
Okay,
Okay, that's
I would like to add to it.
okay. Tahraoui would like to add to this.
I would like to add that there's surely some feminists on this panel. What about those people that are men that are feeling that they are not treated fairly? For example, there's a pressure group called Fathers for Justice. What about those people that are not rightly entitled to see their kids? How do you feel about them?
Labour has always been on the front line of ensuring that gender equality does not exist, which is why under a Labour government, paternity leave was introduced. I don't see any other advances in gender inequality that the Conservative government has done in the 10 years that's been in power. The only thing that has resulted in the 10 years that the Conservatives have been in power is just austerity, strains on our public services and the NHS. Nothing more.
Okay, Tahraoui would you like to respond?
Labour has always been in the front line of failing. That's the main issue here.
Okay, that was a very wonderful discussion on sex. Oh, Wahid, yeah, what's your question?
I've got a question. So basically, in the workplace, why do men only have 2 weeks worth of paternity leave, whereas women have over 2 years?
Okay,
It's 1 year. 1 year maternity.
No,
Perhaps some reasons why women have a longer time for maternity leave is because they gave birth to the child and they'll probably nurse that child and breastfeed it. I don't think any man would do that, unless you personally would like
Okay, okay, so the impacts of climate change are a major threat to our society. From mass food production to natural disasters, there is a need for change. However, a young pioneer and activist from our very own generation named Greta Thunberg has shown that there is a glimpse of hope. She has been internationally recognized for her passion for our world's well-being through her action of holding up a sign which read, "School Strike for Climate." Her dedication has shown that there is a need for climate change to be tackled and that we should take part in this challenge. Okay, let's start with Safwan. What are your views on climate change?
I believe climate change is a big matter in society, and we need to do something about it. However, we haven't got the funds to tackle climate change.
Shamith, would you like to express your views on climate change?
As a journalist, I've travelled the world and I've seen pollution and CO2 emissions around the whole world, and I see how it's not just our country that's been affecting climate change, and it's the whole world in general. So I think it's a much greater issue, and it's not just within our country, but I think we can do things to make a change.
What do you think we can do to make a change?
I would like to add on to what Shamith has said. So what we are planning to do is invest 500 million into the Blue Planet Fund to make sure that the oceans are safe for the sea life. What this is going to do is, we know that there's a lot of plastic bottles and stuff, so we're going to take that stuff away, it's going to take a long time, but in the end, it's going to be worth it, you can say.
Is your party planning on doing anything to tackle climate change?
Labour has already proposed a new Green Deal, which would include an investment in the green transition and the transformation of the financial system and 1 million new green jobs in the energy sector. The Conservative MP on the panel is always talking about what they are planning to do. However, they are overlooking the fact that they've been in power for 10 years now, and they have not done anything about climate change, as they have not done anything about junk food or any other issues in society. And I'd like to ask the question, why have the Conservatives not done anything about the most pressing issues in society in all the years that they've been in power?
Okay, Shamith, would you like to respond to this?
I think there's many issues that Labour Party seem to be able to tackle all of them. They've got an argument for everything. They want to tackle everything, all these issues. There's a lot of issues that affect us greatly, and the thing is we need to work one by one and get them tackled individually. I think at the moment we've got a crisis in the NHS, and that's something that needs to be looked at first, and then climate change. but you guys seem to have an answer for everything and you want to tackle everything at once. It's not going to happen, and that's why you guys aren't in power.
Okay, Nahida, would you like to say anything? Would you like to add anything on to climate change and its effects in our society?
Climate change is a very big factor which is affecting our society. We should look into how we can protect our planet, because if our planet isn't protected, there will be no future.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I add to what Sam said? Climate change is a big matter for our party, however, it's not the main matter. We have people down in the streets, but you lot seem to care more about fishes and trees.
Who from the Labour side would like to respond to this? Samia, would you like to respond?
The Labour government have said that if they do win this election, they will aim to scrap petrol and diesel cars by 2030. As Conservatives said that they've been in power, well not in power, and they have been, but what have you guys done about Brexit the past few years?
This is about climate change, not Brexit.
If you're saying that you're going to promise to do things, but what have you done about Brexit? That is also a key factor for the country.
Okay, Awil, would you like to add on to this?
Safwan, I believe it was Safwan, who said there are literally people dying in the streets. And who is that because of? The Conservatives. After 10 years of austerity, the NHS is on its last, it's basically dying. And I would also like to correct the fact that Safwan said that we care more about fishes and trees. For starters, there's no such thing as fishes, it's fish. Just keep it like that. And secondly, of course we will care about trees. Without trees, we wouldn't be able to breathe. How are we meant to live?
Tahir, as a Conservative leader, would you like to...
You must be a preacher, aren't you? You have an
MP,
answer for
okay.
everything. MP that is actually delusional, because we think that trees and things are a primary issue above people in the NHS that are dying, that have to wait 5 hours at A&E.
Because of the
You're saying this
Conservatives,
is
because of your austerity.
So if you're asking about austerity, what did your Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, do in 2010? He just led us to losing money, and he's a failure, and that's what your party is.
Imtiyaz, would you like to add on any points to this topic?
First of all, I had to hold my breath for 5 minutes because I felt like this breath was causing global warming.
That's not a good comment to make on the panel.
Second of all, the Labour is planning to plant 1 billion trees by the end of 2040.
Okay. Would anyone like to contribute to our discussion? Naima? It seems to be a major issue in our society where MPs aren't seen to be trustworthy. As an MP yourself, would you like to respond?
I think what the Conservative leader said is something that we're planning on doing in the future. The 500 million Blue Planet Fund is something we've looked at, and it is going to happen in due time. It's a long-term scheme. The thing is that we understand as a country that we've got much greater issues. I think that 5 hours waiting time in NHS is something that needs to be tackled much sooner than the 500 million that's going to be put towards the Blue Planet Fund. I have answered your question, because you're asking why there's two different opinions from our thing. It's not too different. We believe in the same thing. We are going to make it happen. It's just at the moment we have something else to worry about.
I would like to add on. So if you think that we have different opinions, what happened if your family member had to wait 5 hours in A&E and then passed away, and in that meantime we were just there planting trees? What would you do? Exactly. Sorry?
Do you have something to say? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay
Same
then.
colours as possible.
Samuel, do you have anything else to add on to this discussion?
But as the Conservatives, you guys are in government, so you guys can make a change on this wait for the NHS waiting list. Also, Boris Johnson had promised 350 million. Where is that?
Okay, we have another question from the audience from Salma.
The whole NHS thing and people are dying in the streets and whatnot. Personally, I feel like obviously that is a big factor in terms of our country at the moment, but I feel like you guys are being blinded and oblivious to the fact that climate change is a major issue and the fact that in future generations the world could eventually die as such. So you guys are all tapping onto the fact that the whole people are dying and whatnot, planting trees, and it's not really making sense.
I'm not trying to say that climate change is not a big issue. Obviously, it is a big issue, but right now the issue is saving people's lives. We can't just start planting trees and thinking about. Right now, it's saving lives in the future. What about those people that are going to die? They're not going to come back to life, are they? They're not going to come back to life.
Could you not argue that?
So, okay, I want to see you plant a tree and see if that's going to resurrect someone.
But could you not argue that by saving the world around, could you not argue that saving people's environment and the world around us will be benefiting those people?
Saving the environment takes a long time. It doesn't just happen like that. It's not Jack and the Beanstalk, is it? Where you plant a tree, it's going to go straight away. That's not how it is. When you plant a tree, it takes at least 20 to 30 years for it to grow and give out oxygen.
Okay.
Well, someone that's going to die, it can happen in a few minutes, a few hours. How are you going to stop that? And a lot of people are dying like that. Right now, there's probably someone dying. Are you going to stop that?
Okay.
Okay, you want to respond to that?
One more thing to say. You as a Conservative Member of Parliament talking about that, you're talking absolute nonsense. If you want to do something about it, you would have done it already. You've been passing that over 9 years. It makes no sense.
Actually, we've saved the NHS from being destroyed because of the recession that Labour Party had started.
But you're the party in power, so what do you have to say to that?
Obviously, we're still trying to fix this issue because I remember when Gordon Brown, Labour Party, was in government, there was a 10-hour wait. So we reduced to 5 hours. So slowly, there's improvements happening. So you can't say that we're not doing anything to tackle this issue.
But we can't remain stagnant in those issues, though.
We're not trying to remain stagnant. We're doing things slowly because it's not like money goes from trees. I know we're talking about trees, but it's not going to happen like that.
Okay, Tahir's claim under Gordon Brown's government that there was a 10-hour waiting, it's just absolute nonsense. He's made up those figures and statistics right now. I'm telling you right now, there's no such thing as that 10-hour wait. It's complete nonsense. And I just believe that, if anything, during these almost 10 years, the Conservatives had just decreased the quality of the NHS and found ways to blame other parties, such as, the Liberal Democrats done this during the coalition, or the Labour done this 20 years ago when they were in power. You're speaking nonsense, mate.
Okay, Safwan, do you have any last thoughts that you would like to add to this?
Going back onto climate change, like we said, climate change is a big matter for our party. However, at the moment, it's not the main matter. We have more prevalent matters such as Brexit, knife crime, and obesity. So climate change is something we're thinking about, but it's nothing we're going to act on in very soon.
Okay, does anyone else from the audience, Mr. Sir?
The debate is very interesting. You've discussed climate change, sexism, you've discussed NHS, and the debate's been very polemic, very adversarial, very negative, very abusive. Is there a possibility that the parties, Conservative, Liberal, Labour, can come together on a common platform to resolve these problems rather than just, slung mud at each other?
I think we as Conservatives agree with what you say. I think every time an issue comes about, Labour's just dying for the power and they're attacking us. We feel like most of these issues, for example, sexism, obesity, and climate change, we can actually work together and resolve these issues. Like, there's more people together and to sort this out. And I think they've got a very attacking opinion on us.
But the point of the matter is that both parties and all the other parties included in our society should work together instead of attacking and pointing the finger at the other
We aren't pointing the finger, we're saying we work together with the Labour Party to resolve these issues. For example, sexism and obesity and climate change. We work together to fix it.
Okay, Awil, would you like to go especially using this?
I do agree with what Mr. Iqbal has said. However, we can't overlook the fact that majority of the problems in society is due to the government, and although majority of a lot of the issues in society, such as sexism and obesity, as Shamith stated, are like cross-party issues, we should work together, and hopefully after this election, we'll be able to work together and be able to help the great British public.
Okay, that's it for today's question time. We would like to give a special thank you to the audience, you guys, the production team, the camera team, Anwar, Natalie, Victor and Mr. Rotham for your cooperation, time and efforts. Thank you.